Crazy, the US is now planning something massive to change Bitcoin, letting Bitcoin compete with the US dollar. The whole thing is supposed to be included in the big beautiful bill, the law that was so intensely debated here, even by Elon Musk. It's also being said that this could be the only chance for quite a while to push this through now. Let's take a look at what this is all about. Plus, BlackRock is once again doing the unbelievable, the unthinkable, which we also need to take a look at. Now we have traditional Wall Street managers like Rick Edelman here, who is now recommending a Bitcoin allocation of up to 40%. This is an absolute shock for the entire market and has the potential to tap into pools of capital that we've never had in the Bitcoin space before. We have Nakamoto CEO David Bailey, who says he wants to become the Berkshire Hathaway of the Bitcoin space. We're seeing a CNBC report that talks exactly about why the Bitcoin price isn't shooting all the way up yet. There are secret sellers right now who are still pushing the Bitcoin price down. That would really shake you up. But first, let's smash the like button down below for higher Bitcoin prices. Yeah, more peace, more joy, and the sun is shining. Let's also hit the like button for the sun. Bitcoin is like the sun. And if you haven't subscribed yet, let's go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Josh Mandel said something here that's very, very spot on. And this is the guy who just 2, 3, 4 months ago predicted the Bitcoin price down to the exact hourly candle, and now says that Bitcoin will next rise to 444,000 US dollars. You can think and say whatever you want about that. But since then, he's gotten a lot of attention in the Bitcoin space. And he says here, one day you'll wish you had bought more Bitcoin. Lower your time preference. You can eat tomorrow. Wear the same underwear for as long as possible, or better yet, don't wear any underwear at all. Save money for soap. The infection might heal eventually. Of course, this is a joking tweet, but at the same time, it's also kind of serious, because in the future you might be surprised or probably really regret it if you don't have enough Bitcoin on hand. I mean, do whatever you want. But unfortunately, a lot of people still underestimate the potential of Bitcoin, and that's why it can't be said enough. Really be aware of what an incredible technology you have here, and use this technology wisely. And now we can actually see here that there are some really, really strong movements happening. We can see here that the Bitcoin spot ETFs have absorbed capital for 14 trading days in a row, totaling more than 4.6 billion US dollars. The cumulative inflows since approval are now over 48.8 billion US dollars, setting a new all-time high. Since the start of the year, there have been 13.6 billion in inflows. You can see that here as well. It just keeps going up, up, and up. BlackRock has also bought another 1,430 Bitcoin today, and is really achieving the unbelievable here, now at almost 700,000 Bitcoin. You can see it here too, up, 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 up. And that's what's interesting. Okay, if all these treasury companies are buying so much Bitcoin, why isn't the price just going up? And I think that's the most common comment I hear. I've now found a really, really interesting answer to that. On CNBC, we'll watch the interview in a bit. It's going to be super exciting. But yeah, in any case, that's basically the status quo. We have a massive buyer's market, but still something's missing for the Bitcoin price to go up here. But the Bitcoin price will go up sooner or later, and it's exactly because of people like this. I actually got a message about it earlier. Oh boy, Rick has some serious influence at the top. Big time. Now it's reaching the right ears. Old money now wants to get into Bitcoin too, managed by Morgan Stanley, the high rollers. If I remember correctly, in any case, this is bigger than any other leak. And it's not even a leak, he actually said it live on TV here. And let's take a quick look, because back in 2021, this guy here, who has a lot of clout in the traditional financial world and knows all the big players, recommended a 1% Bitcoin allocation. Let's see what he's recommending now.
Crypto needs a much bigger role because it's representing the best investment opportunity of the decade.
Now, I want to point out that your current viewpoint represents a
So that's already pretty incredibly intense. Crypto truly needs a significantly different perspective, because it's arguably the most profoundly intense and potentially transformative investment opportunity of our current, rapidly evolving time.
dramatic shift from before what you used to tell investors and recommend that investors allocate low single digits to crypto in portfolios. So what has changed now? Why do you think specifically now you can allocate up to 40% in portfolios? I mean, that's a big jump.
It sure is. In my book, The Truth About Crypto, which was the #1 Amazon bestseller, that was in 2021, just 4 years ago, and I said 1%. Today, I'm saying 40%. That's astonishing, right? Nobody ever, anywhere had.
I mean, just think about it. A jump from 1% to 40%. That's not just a 10-fold increase. That's a 40-fold increase in your portfolio allocation target. And just imagine if other asset managers, all the other fund managers, suddenly start saying similar things. They suddenly also say, hey, not like BlackRock, okay, now 2 to 3%. No, hey, now you can throw in 20% just like that overnight. And the thing is, a lot of people actually listen to these fund managers, to certain key figures, to some finance gurus and so on. So if the finance guru suddenly says, okay, hey guys, not just 1% in Bitcoin anymore, but put in 40%, take out a loan and use leverage to buy even more Bitcoin or something like that. I mean, these are obviously massive leverage effects that are coming our way. And hey, all the big players have figured it out, only the banana heads and so on, or the sausage eaters, they still haven't gotten it. You really have to understand what's going on behind the scenes here, and that's exactly why we're making these videos. David Bailey is now issuing a massive, well, I don't know if it's a warning or a major announcement right here. He says that we're on the verge of exempting big, beautiful bill Bitcoin transactions with very small amounts, meaning under $600 from capital gains tax, and ending the double taxation of mining and staking. This could be our only chance for a while. Call your senator today or tomorrow, or write them an email and let them know how much you support this. If you're a major donor, reach out to your contact person and inform them about it. So close, we just need a little push. So he's saying it's right on the brink, it's really, really close, and it could happen now. And he also says here that when he says we, he means the sleepless ones, the people who are constantly pushing Bitcoin forward without ever getting tired, and he's just the megaphone for them. And it seems like he has some insider information that they're on the verge of amending the beautiful bill, which is basically, well, I was about to call it the expropriation law, but it's not exactly that. It's the money printing law, which is indirectly another way of expropriating savers. Elon Musk actually got into a spat with Donald Trump precisely because of the big beautiful bill. And now it might even be amended so that the capital gains tax is abolished. And that's just so important for Bitcoin to be able to compete with the dollar. Donald Trump even mentioned it. I just published a video about it earlier. Donald Trump says, yeah, Bitcoin and the dollar, they strengthen each other and there are no problems. And Scott Benson said the same thing. And then it would just fit perfectly because right now there's a capital gains tax, which means if you sell your Bitcoin somewhere, and buying a coffee is basically the same as selling, it counts as a disposal. And now you've made profits with Bitcoin, you bought at 10,000, and at 50,000 you buy yourself a coffee. Of course, you have to pay tax on the difference. Sure, there might be small tax exemptions or something like that, but they're probably not going to be very high. I think there's a tax-free allowance in Germany, but I believe it's negligible. In the US, it's a bit higher, or actually, I'm not sure if it's higher. Could be a little higher or lower. Let me know in the comments if you know. By the way, it's a big recommendation. If you want to track your taxes here, do your Bitcoin taxes, then really do it properly. Be very careful with that. Otherwise, you'll end up in hot water really fast. You really don't want to get into trouble here. That's why I always say use coin tracking, a tax tracking tool. They do it properly, they do it reliably. That way, you don't have to worry. You can also have your portfolio tracked there. The best part is everything works completely free of charge. You can also get a pro account, which gives you even more benefits. With the code BTC Hotel, you even get a discount. And I'll put the link to coin tracking down below for you. Be sure to click on it. Sign up there, you can even register anonymously. So really, there's no excuse not to use it, right? Because when it comes to taxes, you really don't want to make any mistakes here. So this isn't, let's just say dealing with the tax authorities is no walk in the park, even though I'm actually a big fan of cherries. It's cherry season right now, by the way. And in any case, we really need to keep a close eye on all of this. In Germany, that would also be a huge step. I mean, it would be even more extreme. There are even people who, for example, say, okay, up to 10,000 euros, you shouldn't tax it at all. There are similar proposals in the US too. I'd even say just scrap it altogether. I mean, why take money out of people's pockets? That money has already been taxed anyway. So you always have to keep in mind, with investments, you're basically getting taxed again on money that's already been taxed. That's already double taxation. And if you lose it, then it's actually triple taxation. So if this were to go through, it would have a huge impact on adoption. Not just in the US, but worldwide, because it would set a precedent. Here in the United States, we have David Bailey, who also confidently states that his impressive $700 million company is soon going to create the Berkshire Hathaway of Bitcoin, which is, of course, a truly massive and profoundly significant statement, a declaration of immense ambition. I mean, Berkshire Hathaway is one of the most impressive companies in the world, and he wants to compete with that whole story. I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, go for it. Best of luck. I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult to catch up with strategy here, but I think a little competition can't hurt in this whole story. And now comes a really, really intense clip. This was on CNBC, and it's about why the Bitcoin price hasn't completely skyrocketed yet, because it really should be with all the buyers we have. So listen very closely.
Who's buying Bitcoin, we do not talk as much about the sellers. So yesterday, to your point about the flows, Frank, was the 12th session in a row of positive inflows for Bitcoin.
We've had that now, all those positive inflows. Back then, it was 12 days in a row, but by now it's even more consecutive days. And people always talk about the buyers, but they don't talk as much about the sellers.
ETFs. Flows are on pace for their 9th positive week in the last 11. It's almost $4 billion for the month of June. And all of that underscores the strength of institutional demand that we've been talking about all year, even amid market uncertainty. And yet, Bitcoin is only up about 3% this month. We know who's buying, Bitcoin ETFs and corporate treasuries, but there's a fair amount of selling taking place as well. That's almost perfect.
So here, we now know who's buying all this stuff, Bitcoin ETFs, treasury companies, and so on. And now it gets interesting.
We know who's buying Bitcoin ETFs and corporate treasuries, but there's a fair amount of selling taking place as well that's almost perfectly offsetting the buying and keeping the keeping the Bitcoin price stuck.
So there are actually quite a number of sellers as well, and that's why the Bitcoin price is stuck here, as she says, it's just stuck. And now she's talking about who these sellers are, because that's always the thing. If you have thousands of buyers, but also thousands of sellers, then the Bitcoin price just doesn't move.
But it shows a real change in ownership in the Bitcoin market. Now, looking at data from CryptoClout, we can see that early mega whales, think Chinese miners around 2013, 2014, they've been holding onto their coins for longer and waiting to offload them in greater amounts to today's biggest Bitcoin buyers. We're talking about 3 different cohorts of Bitcoin whales. The smallest wallets hold 1 to 1,000 coins.
And this right here is really, oh, I just clicked it away. This is really important here. She says here, there are Bitcoin whales, and these Bitcoin whales from 2013, she even talks about mega whales, are now unloading their Bitcoin and selling their coins. They've been holding on for a really long time, and now the time has come where they say, okay, now I want to take some profits too. And here, for example, you can see all Bitcoin holders with 1 to 1,000 Bitcoin. You can see, for example, that people with 1 to 10 Bitcoin have actually sold some of their Bitcoin, but of course, those with 10 to 1,000 Bitcoin have bought a massive amount, especially those in the 100 to 1,000 range. They bought around 300,000 Bitcoin here. That means these aren't mega whales, but rather just regular whales. But if we look at the mega whales here, these are wallet addresses holding from 1,000 to over 10,000 Bitcoin, and they've sold off massively here. You can see that here, for example, just the wallets with 1,000 to 10,000 have sold 130,000 Bitcoin here. And this shows over the last few months, or actually from 2025, the entire year, how their holdings have changed. And that's something you always have to keep in mind, because people often say, yeah, it's the retail investors who are selling, while the whales are buying like crazy and lining their pockets. Yeah, that's true, but only to a small extent, because the whales are filling their pockets, the whales with up to 1,000 Bitcoin or so. But the mega whales, those with over 1,000 Bitcoin, they've actually sold some of their Bitcoin, and that's basically the reason why the Bitcoin price isn't already at 150,000 or something like that. It's because there's still this seller rotation going on, and at some point they'll basically be, well, bled dry. Once those people have sold their Bitcoin, they'll be satisfied, they won't sell anymore, and then Bitcoin will move up to the next higher price levels. Then we can really look forward to higher Bitcoin prices. Yeah, if you still want to buy Bitcoin here, I'll put a link down below to 21 Bitcoin. With the code BitcoinHotel, you can still get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Definitely check it out. They offer savings plans, auto wallet transfers, limit orders, and much more. Absolutely recommended. And yeah, the link is down in the description. See you. Catch you later. Peace out.